Good morning, everybody. Everything new under the sun. Did we just witness an Archduke Ferdinand moment? This is the thing that we're kind of all looking for. What is the trigger for all out World War III? When does it go hot? It's kind of in a cold mode right now in Ukraine, Russia, as proxy wars are fought. Same with Israel, Iran. Proxy wars are still being fought, even though there was a bit of a volley of missiles back and forth, tit for tat, this sort of thing. But the breaking news is that Raisi, the Iranian president, he is officially confirmed to be dead. Now, what is the Archduke Ferdinand moment? Let's quickly take a look at that. The assassination of Archduke Ferdinand was one of the key events that led to World War One. So Archduke Ferdinand, he was the presumptive heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. It says, and his wife, Sophie, Duchess of Honenberg, and they were assassinated June 28th, 1914. So, anyways, this eventually led to World War One, and this is the turning point, the big event, the flashbulb moment that was kind of recognized as the trigger of World War One. Well, likewise, we have this event here. Raisi, could Israel use this as an opportunity to strike Iran? So there was three helicopters flying. President Raisi and some other ministers from, I think it was Azerbaijan or something, some event, ribbon cutting event or something. I think it was about a dam in the location. And of the three, one went down. Now, this was like 20 hours ago. They had no idea where he was. It took literally like 20 hours to find it because it was in heavy fog. They were flying old American Bell helicopters, apparently. And of course, there's been sanctions on Iran for a long time. So the question is, how well were these helicopters maintained? Was there any involvement by Israel? And of course, Iran, they would have been the first to suggest, and maybe they still will, that Israel or the U.S. had some part in this. While it happened, Iran deployed military forces in the large cities in Iran. Why? Because there would have been protests or violence, whatever it may be. But this is a significant event when a big leader of a country dies. Was he assassinated? What's going to happen after the changeover of power? Is there going to be some rogue element or some coup attempt related to this? So we look at this and we say, what's going to happen? Is this an Archduke Ferdinand moment? President Raisi and foreign minister and all passengers in the helicopter were killed. So this is the latest news coming out this morning. It was big news yesterday. They were looking for it. They sent search parties. Turkey had drones in the area, and ultimately it was a Turkish drone that found the wreckage of this plane. Iran's state media confirmed the death of Raisi. Now, yesterday they were, saying that there was a hard landing or something like that. It was initially described as a hard landing, but later widely acknowledged as a crash. So they couldn't find the location of this for 15, 20 hours. Why? If there was two other helicopters flying along with it, you would think they would have a general idea of where this was, but apparently not. The helicopter was carrying Raisi, the president of Iran, and foreign minister and other officials. And it went down in a northern region on the way back from an official visit to Azerbaijan. All feared dead. Search and rescue has taken hours to reach the crash site. Little is known of progress, this says. Let's see. The head of Red Crescent has confirmed that the location of Raisi's helicopter has been found. Islamic State media is publishing this photo and is saying that this is the crash site. And I can't even see in this image where the crash site would be. Nothing looks like a downed helicopter, but I guess near the location. And this is the location, in top left-hand corner of Iran, west of the Caspian Sea there. And there was actually a video that came out of this. Apparently, this is the last video of them actually in the helicopter, Raisi there. So very, very interesting stuff. Okay, so how does Israel respond? Well, apparently the second in command to Raisi, the vice president, is going to take control. Israeli officers estimate in Iran without Raisi, he was Khamenei's favorite to succeed, rather. And the Israelis basically say, it's harder to find a worse guy than that. If Raisi were to die or be unable to assume duties, it will be difficult to find someone worse. So that sounds like it's a good thing from Israel's side. They see this as good strategically going forward. Of course, we aren't interested in the death of anybody, but for Iran, does this change their stance towards Israel? Probably not. But you probably couldn't also have a worse president than Raisi in terms of the repression and the rights of the people and the stance of Iran towards Israel. But they will likely hold course regardless. The Iranian presidency is normally an administrative and political position, and there are established procedures for replacement. What it means for the Gaza war, and this is kind of the big thing, how does it relate to Israel and the war? What will happen? As for the impact on the Iran-Israel conflict, Heyman, interesting name, who is currently the executive director for the Institute of National Security Studies, said it would not have a strategic impact. It would just be less of a headache in choosing the next president, it says. The suggestion was, is this an opportunity for Israel to go in Iran when there's a bit of chaos, a switchover of the political head, and this sort of thing. And this is the Economic Collapse blog. And it says, if Iranian President Raisi is dead, that could push the Middle East to the brink of all-out war. Now, this is written before, yesterday, before the news came out that he was dead. But it says, did we just witness a moment that will permanently alter history? As I write this, the entire world is waiting for the confirmation of Raisi being dead or alive. If it turns out to be dead, that will be really bad news because that could push the Middle East to the brink of all-out war. No matter what actually happened, there is no way that you are going to be able to convince Iranian leaders that the U.S. and Israel were not responsible. So they're going to look at this and, if it was a failure of the maintenance crew, the military, whatever it may be, they're going to try and save face and blame it on somebody else, right? So are they going to blame it on Israel? And are they going to use this as an excuse to go to war against Israel? This is the big question. He says, let us hope Raisi survives, because if he doesn't, the Iranians will be overwhelmed with emotion and will begin planning how to avenge the death of their president. So, they're flying very old helicopters, U.S.-made helicopters, the maintenance of which is dubious, again, because, how are they getting parts? But these were, old American helicopters. So, let's take a look at, let me go here. Let me just see what the latest at Press TV. So this is Iran's mainstream media. Iranian nation lost sincere, valuable servant. Saddened and shocked world leaders extend condolences. Raisi companions declared dead in helicopter crash. Let's go over to this main article here. Again, this is Iranian mainstream media. Leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, has extended his condolences to the Iranian nation over the martyrdom of President Abraham Raisi and his companions. Martyrdom. This suggests, I assume, that they believe there was a foreign interference, an alternate cause, not just due to pilot error. Khamenei said he's received the bitter news of the martyrdom of the popular, competent, hardworking president. Let's see. The entire period of responsibility of his noble and devoted man, it says, both during the short term. Race, you didn't know, fatigue. So, I hadn't read this before. I don't know if they're suggesting that there was an external cause to this, etc. Interesting, again, that he mentions the word martyrdom there. Does that mean the political leadership in Iran thinks Israel had a hand in it? Or are they going to use this as, something they can use to go to war with Israel and further the nuclear power and the nuclear weapons research that they have. Are they going to use this to stir up the country against Israel even further? Using that word martyrdom, that's a big word for them, and suggest that he died because some outside force. So that's going to be critical. We're going to see in the next 24 hours what the response is to this. But they had their military in the streets there, and as it relates to the timeline of the return of the Lord, I think war is inevitable, and war is going to flare up. We're going to hear about wars and rumors of wars. The end is not yet. All these things must come to pass, but we're going to get to the brink of World War III and nuclear war and nuclear annihilation and mutually assured destruction. And that's when a world leader is going to step into the fray and say, you know what, I can bring peace to the Middle East. I can bring peace to the world. I can pull us out of this economic collapse and famine. But it suggests that the whole world is so desperate at that point that they will accept this world leader and they will give up their sovereignty and they will give up their freedom. Is the world in that position yet? No, we're not hurting enough in the West to give up our sovereignty, our freedom. We will be on our knees, I think, at that point when the world leader steps onto the stage. That means likely that we're headed for nuclear war all around the world, and there's weapons detonated everywhere. I think it has to be very, very bad, folks. I simply believe that has to be the case for the world to give up the freedom of the U.S., to give up the sovereignty of the United States. What sort of situation worldwide has to be happening at that point? And for the citizens of the world to give themselves over, to take the mark of the beast. The world has to be at an absolute desperate state to get into that position. So, I don't know, my timeline of return to the Lord open. But I think it gets far worse is what I'm saying. This is War News 247. Russia, French, and British operators of Storm Shadow scalp bombardment of Russian hinterland with AASM 250 Hammer and AGM 88. They're saying there's foreign troops, there's NATO troops on the ground. They're operating the long-range missiles, the Storm Shadows, for example. And what does Russia say? We are preparing a military response to London and Paris. So they are actively preparing a retaliatory response to France and Britain. France and Britain are attempting to break the last Russian red lines by leading the entire region down murky paths. Ukraine attempted for the first time to bombard Russian targets in Belgorod, Russia hinterland, with NATO weapons as approved by Paris and London. Russia knows who's approving this. Russia knows there's NATO troops on the ground. Folks, it's all a matter of time. We're only getting this because it comes out in mainstream media that there's NATO troops on the ground. Russia has known for a long time what the mercenary troops were, what foreign national troops are on the ground in Ukraine, who is firing them, who is controlling them. Russia knows all this. The intelligence services, they know what's going on, whether through spies or etc. They know far more than we do. If that's the case, if they know, I think what we understand and know that NATO is 100% pushing this war ahead. Given that they know that, what then is their red line? Apparently their red line is if NATO troops are used to attack Russia proper with these weapons. And apparently they have, and they are. The Russian Ministry of Defense reported that the missile attack was repelled. 4 French-made hammer-guided bombs and 2 American AGM-88 anti-radar missiles were shot down over the territory of Belgorod region. And Medvedev came out and says the vice president of Russian security, Medvedev, took discussion even further. In the interview he gave a few days ago, he revealed for the first time that Storm missiles are not controlled by military personnel of the armed forces of Ukraine, but by British and French who arrived in Ukraine. So Medvedev and the U.S. military, the Russian military, they know indeed that NATO is basically providing targeting information and indeed launching these missiles against Russia and Russian allied nations, Belarus, etc. Medvedev said, "This is why the response to such actions will not be long in coming. The target will not only be Kiev, but also London and Paris. The goal of Russia's planned tactical nuclear weapons," and this is what's coming next. Many others are saying this, but this is the thing in the nuclear doctrine. The suggestion is that if you want to prevent things from escalating further, you need to use a big weapon to scare everybody, especially the civilians, the citizens, the voting public. You need something big enough that's going to get on the news media and scare them enough to scare them from going to continuing this war further or escalating it further. You almost need to escalate it to de-escalate it. And this is the next factor that I believe Russia's working with, and the fact that they're going to use tactical nukes in some controlled manner, but big enough that it would be an escalation to de-escalate, something to get on the mainstream media news in the West to scare the citizens so that they stand up and tell their political leadership that, no, we don't want to continue. And so will they use tactical nukes? Will the world get to a state, where the economies of the world crash? And maybe this is when the Antichrist comes into power or pops his head up and says, look, I can bring peace. So the goal of Russia's tactical nuclear weapons drill is to work out a response to any attacks on Russian soil that the West has allowed Ukraine to carry out with its weapons and supplies. This has been happening for a long time. Russia is very, very patient, biding their time, looking for the right opportunity. I think the next move is 100% Russia. They're waiting for something, I'm not sure what, but they're waiting for this escalation to de-escalate, the use of a tactical nuclear weapon that's large enough to cause the West to de-escalate the situation and call for peace, and to get beyond this military-industrial complex and the leadership and the militaries of the West that are acting not in favor of the citizens. The citizens don't want war. You and I don't want war in the West, but they're acting, without our vote effectively, because elections haven't occurred yet. Maybe when U.S. elections occur, maybe Trump will come and de-escalate this thing. But right now, Biden wasn't elected to go to war with Russia, but that's what the political leadership is doing. It says not only with conventional explosives. Remember, Russia knows it can't beat the West with conventional explosives. Their whole philosophy to win war and designed to win war is with nuclear weapons. They've known this from, 40 years ago. They know they cannot go toe-to-toe with conventional war weapons and warfare. They planned their nuclear forces to win that nuclear war. It says, but also with special ammunition, Russian troops will practice such attacks in planned nuclear exercises. I will end it with this. You need to be ready for all-out nuclear war. I believe that is almost a necessity that will bring the world to its knees, the economy to its knees, crash the economy, cause us to go into significant famine due to supply chain problems and the separation of China providing products to us, because as soon as World War III starts, China's going to stop all products. And where are all products made? Basically in China, in Asia. So that being the case, there's going to be massive supply chain issues. You won't be able to get goods like you used to. And there's going to be huge shortages. That means agriculturally, parts for tractors and all these things will stop coming. We will run out of supply. We will stop being able to make food like we need to, and it's just a whole cascade of events that's going to occur. That's going to make it very, very hard for everybody, to the point where everybody's desperate, and we will accept this one world leader and this one world government. So the timeline of the return of the Lord is marching forward. I think we're headed to that World War III. I think the news tells you that we're headed there. Russia is saying it straight out loud that we're headed there. NATO doesn't care. NATO's not looking for peace. Certainly, have you heard land for peace in Ukraine? No, but they push that on Israel, don't they? Land for peace, land for peace. Not in Ukraine. Isn't that interesting, right? You need to get ready for World War III. It's coming, and I believe we're already in it. We're just looking for the big, Archduke Ferdinand moment when this war goes hot, goes live, and all of a sudden the Western nations, the Western civilians realize, oops, our leaders did get us into this. We've been in it for a year and a half. I'll leave there, guys. Get prepared. Get ready. Get your hearts and minds in order. Get your houses in order. Get your debts in check. Get prepared. It will get hard. And when it does get hard, you won't have time. You won't have the ability to be prepared. So you need to be mentally ready for this. Thanks for watching. I'll leave there. We'll see you in the next video.